right. Welcome to another episode of The Learning Curve. I am one of your hosts, Lauren Claret,
And I'm Derek.
and we are here with hashtag Jimmy. Hi, Jimmy.
Hello.
Thank you so much. I'm sure a lot of our listeners know who you are and follow you. You have such a great following on Instagram, and you are a movement coach and choreographer from Rhode Island.
Yep, that's right. I sometimes I feel like I have to explain what I mean by movement coach because people are always like, "Wait, what does that even mean?" So I'm sure maybe that's on the list.
Well, maybe you want to. Well, we'll go into that in a little bit, but tell us like some of your origin story for
Yeah.
skating.
Yeah, so I think like every little boy in New England, I started out in hockey. And I was like 3 or 4 years old, so really young. And that's where I learned to skate. So I joke all the time because I would tell my parents that my feet were really cold, and so I did not want to do it. But I think it was the combination of waking up early and like even from that point, I was like, okay, I don't think this is for me because it seems really aggressive. So I stopped like around 5 years old and then hadn't skated for a couple more years. And then my friend started skating in figure skating classes in New Hampshire. That's where I'm from. And so she actually invited me to a learn to skate class and put on skates and again. And it was so much fun reconnecting to it again and trying tricks and being like good at something naturally because I had experience with it already. And so yeah, kind of just fell in love with it
How
right
old
there.
were you when you went to the Learn to Skate?
I was 9, almost 10.
Okay.
Okay.
hmm So like a little later on the spectrum of when people start figure skating. But yeah, I'm glad kind of when I started.
But
That's
you already
awesome.
felt like you kind of had a good technique established because of the hockey.
Yeah, I think not necessarily good technique. I could definitely march and maybe stroke forward and backward, and that's about it. And maybe stop. So I mean that's already a well along the way of learning. So yeah, I had an advantage in that respect. But I remember learning crossovers very specifically and struggling with them. My dad actually used to take me to the rink and bribe me with donuts. So I would we would go get Dunkin' Donuts in the morning if I practiced so many circles of crossovers.
That's amazing.
Did your dad skate?
He used to play hockey when he was young. Not like competitively or anything. I think just kind of recreationally.
Nice.
And do you have siblings too, Jimmy?
Yeah, I have two brothers.
Did they skate at all or do hockey?
Nope. I was a little bit of a black sheep. My whole family was into soccer, so they were pretty competitively doing the whole travel club thing while we were growing up. So my poor mom driving all over the place.
It's so funny because our last episode I recorded it from the soccer fields in between two of my son's soccer games. So I
Mhm.
live that life too.
I was like, so how does a
Yeah.
soccer mom like you find time to
Yeah.
No,
do this
it's
podcast?
honestly, I don't know how you do it. My partner and I joke all the time when we're like, and like, because we're both very much in the middle of, I don't know, whatever's happening, building businesses, and we're like, and then people have kids, so it's
Yeah,
like insane.
You
I'm right
probably
there
feel
with
like
you. I
your
don't know how she does it either, Jimmy.
Yeah, it's like wild.
It
I was
is.
gonna say you probably feel like your business is your baby, both of you.
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
bit, and the dog, and kind of like reconnecting to my inner child a little bit in my 30s, kind of like parenting myself a little bit. So that's been cool too.
I love that. And so from the Learn to Skate classes, did you go on to compete or how did that evolve?
Yeah, I mean, I think especially back then, whenever there was a boy at the rink, all the coaches kind of like fought to like teach him because it was um generally there's less competition for male skaters. And so yeah, I almost immediately went to private lessons and was yeah, practicing almost every day right away. So that was kind of a wild ride. And obviously I was loving it.
Okay.
Um, and so I was, yeah, tired all the time.
Yeah. And did you compete in singles or did you ever dabble in like ice dance or?
Yeah, I competed singles up to 16.
Oh.
And I always joke like I was like the worst single skater. Uh, just awful. Like I would fall on every jump. And I ended up trying pairs out
Oh,
for a
wow.
while and then competed nationally and internationally in pairs.
Oh,
That's
Um,
amazing, Jimmy. I did not
that's
know
really
that.
good.
yeah.
Wow.
I'm not very much involved with pairs anymore just because I when I first started coaching, I was doing partnering lessons. So I would teach younger girls like the basics of pair skating.
Oh, cool.
And to like my heart wasn't in it. It just felt kind of like I was um a body for hire, not necessarily
Mhm.
because of them, but just because of the nature of the relationship, you know? So I was kind of like, all right, maybe let's try to slowly shift from here.
Mhm. And then you moved more into like the choreography space, or like how did you kind of
Mhm.
move into that movement coach? If you want to explain that too.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. So I was actually my when I was doing pairs, my partner and I were introduced to something called theater on ice, if you guys are aware of that. So it's kind of like on competitive ensemble skating. And at first we kind of did it like not like a joke, but we were like, this looks kind of fun and whatever. And then we ended up really loving it. I, long story short, I ended up assistant coaching for the team eventually, and then became the head coach, and then
Oh,
worked with the Boston Theater on Ice organization for a really long time, almost 10 years.
Wow.
Became like the assistant artistic director, and like it was like the
Amazing.
whole
awesome.
thing. And yeah, just actually recently moved on from that. But
What's your
another kind
favorite
of
show that you've ever done on
what'd you
for
say?
the night? What's your favorite theater on ice production that you've done?
Oh my God, that's such a great question. My favorite, I would probably say that I skated in.
Either or.
Okay,
Well, you were
well,
involved in some way.
yeah, there was are either of you familiar with the artist Stromae from France? He's like a French hip hop type pop hip hop kind of it's that's the only way to how to know I would
Okay.
know how to
I'm not
describe him.
familiar, but I would like to find out who it is.
But his music is amazing, and at that point, we were trying to kind of like reinvent the program. Worked really closely with Adam Blake at that time,
Oh
who
wow.
is works with Disney on Ice,
Hmm.
Oh, cool.
and we he choreographed a program that was just like amazing for the team that I coached, and it was very just like new and different.
Mm,
And it wasn't, I think it wasn't like maybe not the best one we've done, but I think I remember it being just so different
Yeah.
and such a big risk. So I feel like I remember the experience of doing it and being like, no, let's go for it. And convincing the kids and the families that it's a good idea.
Awesome.
that's awesome.
I really
So would
love.
you say was it a little like avant-garde a little bit, like just different like
Yes,
that?
it was definitely more abstract. So it was
Okay.
like the skaters were like kind of split into two, where they had a worker outfit on one side and a more casual kind of punk outfit on the other.
Cool.
And it was telling the story of the push and pull between like personal life and work life, or like creativity and
Cool.
capitalism, and just kind of all those like ideas. I mean, he's brilliant. He's amazing.
I can tell
So
that when I'm just watching you skate, I think of you like as you're a storyteller. You're definitely telling a story. I
mhm.
watched your one performance that said, "I hate skating." That
Oh,
was
that's
very. I mean, that was great. It was. I really enjoyed watching that. But it definitely was. I could tell the story that you were telling. It was really good.
That was my favorite. So I think that program that I was talking about earlier was my favorite theater on ice program. But I Hate Skating is the favorite thing that I've ever choreographed. so far, because it was such a personal story. And it actually was the capstone project for a choreography class that I took
Oh,
through American Ice Theater, um, but I'm involved very heavily in now.
so cool.
And the task was to create your artist statement. So how do you want people to know your style, or what do you have to say when you're making art? And I kind of wanted to play with um, the I kind of like the shock value, like saying I hate this thing that I've been doing my entire life, but the love like still being there and kind of like morphing it into something that I like really am proud of and enjoy.
I think that's true. That goes for like a lot of different disciplines, right? When you're really good at something and you dedicate your life to it. I always like that with piano. There was a long time where I hated the piano. I
Hmm.
love it now, of course, but I like rebelled against music for a while. So I could see. But as I'm hearing you talk, I'm thinking of Lauren because I don't know if you watched any of Lauren skating, but I think that Lauren, you emote and you really tell stories. I think as well, and like I really see you as kind of like a ice dancer. And I don't know how your thoughts
Thank
about that,
you.
but I really
Well,
love the way that you
I'll
tell stories.
because it's hard to talk about your own skating. I was watching Lauren actually a little bit before,
Were you?
and I saw a video of you doing Lady in Red with like a
Yeah.
red dress,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
I was like, that is somebody who loves to
yeah,
skate. Like and it's just so infectious.
it is.
And yeah, something that I think a lot of people have trouble accessing. So it's inspiring to see it in any time.
The
I often
funny thing
wonder.
about me as a kid, I was not artistic naturally, and I had to work really hard at it. It was like fake it till you make it kind of a thing. And so I think for me, the emoting has come through living life. And when I came back to skating after 10 years off with raising my kids, it was like I had been through so much more. So it's more believable because you're just like wearing your heart on your sleeve. And I always say I have like a constant karaoke machine in my head of like, what could I skate to next? And I'm sure you can relate to like always wanting to have an ear for new music and things like that and how you could interpret it and make it your own.
You also
Yeah.
you aren't under the pressure of competing anymore,
No,
though,
I
right?
know.
So
That's
Right. And that is something like, I mean, a podcast can't be 3 hours long, but I could literally sit here for hours and hours and talk about like the how competition actually sometimes limits that creativity and joy, because I think you are enjoying it so much because you're living your authenticity.
okay.
And when you're competing, it's really difficult to balance authenticity with the expectations of an audience or a judge member.
yeah.
And so you're constantly playing this battle of like, oh no, do I be me? Are they gonna like me? Oh, maybe I'll just be someone else just to score high. And even if it's for 2 minutes, being somebody else sucks.
I
Like
have
it's
noticed that like some of the best skaters, I think of when they were competing in the Olympics, and I see them now. For example, I'm thinking of a few: Paulina Edmonds, Nicole Bobek. When I watch their performances now, I honestly feel like their fluidity, they're just so much. I mean, they're almost kind of better now in certain ways. Not maybe not with their technical, like their jumping and everything, but definitely their fluidity, their body movements. They seem much more comfortable on the ice compared to when they were actually, in their competing days. I don't know. It's just
I
an
am
observation I've had.
I am a million times better a skater now than I was when I was competitively
Really,
skating. And that's not to say that I wasn't technically talented, but there's a whole other aspect of skating that I've connected to that's actually improved my technique as well, like mindfulness and artistry. And these are all things that can actually improve your technique as well, because it is kind of doing it in a roundabout way. Like I am choosing to move more fluidly, therefore I'm going to bend into my ankles and kind of relax and flow with it. As opposed to your coach being like, bend your ankles, and then you tighten up and then you don't. So just as an example.
Yeah. And I think like when I was thinking as you were speaking, it was like that piece that you mentioned about the business life versus, like that sort of struggle back and forth. I think like you seem to like you want to tell a message or convey a point, and I think that's the artistic like it's the opportunities are endless with the artistic expression and
Mhm.
how it could be open to interpretation. You can have different takes on it, and that creativity and getting your creative juices flowing is like what makes you keep wanting to get back out there, and actually does make you a better skater because you can just let go kind of, and you're not,
Mhm.
like you said, being judged, and so there's a freedom in that.
And I'm sure the music, you love the music too, right? The music is really where it
Oh
comes
God, yeah. I mean, it really is like the whole thing. And the way I describe it sometimes is the experience of the creating, instead of it being the product of the performance.
Mm-hmm.
So I very much value which is what I did not do when I was competing, is valuing the journey of going to the rink every day and my relationship with my partner. And I just was focused on the result. So now I'm trying to connect back into the process of it. So listening to this song that I really like and choosing maybe an instrument that I hear that I wouldn't necessarily focus on unless I was creating to it. And then now I appreciate the song more, and now I have more layers, and it kind of all fuels everything.
to.
And so, yeah, the music is a huge factor, but then also just the experience of listening and moving.
It's like an organic process, right? you know
Yeah, very much so. And I mean, I have to really credit American Ice Theater to that, has been a huge stable force in my education as far as artistry goes, because I think intuitively I had a lot of ideas. Like I was like, what if we do this and it's kind of funky and it moves, and
Mhm.
but learning about the history of dance and choreographers that came before, and then also kind of basic anatomy as well as breath techniques and choreographic tools that kind of is like a dictionary that you can kind of pull from.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, it's not as inaccessible as you think.
Mhm. And American Ice Theater, do they have different teams throughout the country and they do competitions and things like that? Or is it more shows?
Yeah, so American Ice Theater is not competitive at all. So
Oh,
that's partially why I love working with them. We do artistic education and performance opportunities and outreach. So there's education for adult skaters. We do a adult weekend, so you can explore your artistry for a weekend. There's a summer camp for kids in the Chicago area, and
There she
every
is.
yeah,
but I'm
and
not a kid, but
there's also, we just finished the Contemporary Skating Festival in Boston,
Mm.
where their coaches and professional skaters and choreographers all come, kind of like from all over the world, which is
Wow.
really cool, and share ideas. So everybody who participates has an opportunity to submit a proposal, and we create an entire weekend of classes that
Wow.
we share how we see skating.
I can't
And
imagine how much joy
great.
you must get from doing what you do. As I'm hearing you talk, I'm just thinking about how much I love skating. But to be able to create like that, like as you're living, I mean, to do that for a living, and just the whole process. I mean, I'm sure that has got to be the best thing ever, right?
I You guys ask really good questions, because this is also something that is so funny to me. Sometimes I'll just stop in my lesson or like what I'm doing, and I'll like joke with the people that I'm working with, and I'm like, this is so like fun.
Yeah, right?
And like I mean, it seems like, I don't know, cliche or like weird and annoying, but also at the same time, like getting paid or being able to spend your time with kids, teaching them how to access artistry in a way that like you would have wanted when you were a child, is like, I can't tell you how gratifying it is.
I can only imagine. I mean, being
And
able to use the talent that you were given to do something that you love, like it's no longer work. It's just, I mean, it is work, but it's
Yeah,
like,
and sometimes it's hard. I mean, I'm not gonna be like it's a walk in the park.
oh, I'm sure.
Because when you are managing teenagers' expectations and relationship with parents and other coaches and um, a traditional skating pipeline that they have very clear expectations of what they want, and kind of talking to them about other options, maybe if they are interested in that is, yeah, it's weird. It's sometimes weird to navigate.
Well, and Derek and I both work in the education system, so we constantly
Okay.
have to work with parents, families, kids. But one of the things that you mentioned is like seeing them explore artistry in a new way. I would imagine, just as in teaching, just as in speech language pathology, like when you see those light bulb moments,
Yeah.
it's like, and everything like clicks in a new way for them. It's like so so gratifying to see kids make those strides, or teenagers or whoever you're working with, and just to be a part of their journey is awesome. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
really
it's really
cool.
amazing seeing people, I don't know, make a realization.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's also fun kind of thinking about strategically how can you uh, because basically what we're doing is behavior change, like physical and
Mm-hmm.
mental behavior change. And so, what types of things do you say? How do you connect with that person on a personal level that makes them feel safe enough to take a risk outside of their comfort zone? And you can kind of think about it forever. And that's I tell people I'm just like a behavior change or skating nerd. Like it's just I
Mm-hmm.
just enjoy that process of finding out what makes people think. So yeah, it's a fun job.
I mean, and if you're passionate, like Derek was saying, like it doesn't feel like work,
Right.
probably. Like that's everyone's dream, is to make a career out of something that they're passionate about. You walk in, it's kind of like with teaching too. Like every day is a new adventure because you're working with kids, and no 2 days are alike. But you're also creating different things each day, and that's so
Exactly.
cool. It's so
So
refreshing.
I'm 48 years old, so I'm a lot older than you guys. But I didn't start skating until like in my 40s, right? And so I will never be at the level that you two are at. But I love it so much. I mean, it is really hard for me. It's something that I have to work really really hard at. I thought for sure that I would have stopped a long time ago because I just wasn't making as much progress as I had hoped initially. And now I kind of then I started to make progress, and now I'm sort of at this plateau again. And it's kind of frustrating because I really want to advance this next level. But I love it so much. I wish that I could just do skating in some form of career. Um, but I know that that's just not in the cards. So maybe this podcast will be in the. I don't know. I know this will be there. But I really love it so much. And you talked about how you were doing singles and you went to pairs. The one thing that's interesting is if I'm touching like literally just my pinky, if I'm if I just touch one person, I can do anything. I have so much confidence. I feel
Mhm.
I can do, but without that, I'm not with a lot of different elements. I'm still kind of struggling. I'm still not as good as I should be. And I know that some of it's like in my head. A lot of my I've had four coaches now, but all of them
Mhm.
have told me that it's kind of in my head, and I need to. And so I don't know. I'm definitely afraid of injury. At this age, I don't want to have any injuries.
100%.
So I'm like, if it could just bubble wrap my whole body, I would probably go out there and do whatever. But yeah. So if you have any advice for me in that, and I don't know, like do you know what I'm talking about?
So
Where you like,
I 100%
yeah,
yes. I'm like I this is something that I think about so frequently is the feeling of the plateau or like what's your relationship to failure and success and like achievement in that way. And so I guess like I would ask you like going into skating, what do you feel like your goals are? Is it something that you feel like you are doing because it brings you joy and movement and achievement, or is it, something more particular?
yeah, I'm almost at the level where I think I would be able to put on like a pretty good performance. I'm not really interested in competing, but I definitely am interested in like ice dance, being able to get to that level where I could actually, just perform to music that I really love. I love skating to music that I love. I love the feeling of making my own wind. I love the smell of the ice. I love everything about the rink, everything, the whole experience. So I know that it's something that like and I didn't even know this until I stumbled. I was living in Idaho and I stumbled upon the outdoor rink there in Sun Valley.
Oh, cool.
And I was like, what is this? Because it was like September and I found out that this
I have
ice was
never
out.
been there.
Yeah,
It
you've
makes
been
me
there?
so sad.
You've not been there?
Never.
Oh, you should definitely, if you ever have an opportunity to go, it's like heaven on earth there. But yeah, so I fell in love with it there, and then I, kind of started the lessons. But um, yeah, I don't really have the desire to compete. It's never been something that I've really wanted to do. I know there's a lot of pressure for people to compete, but
Mhm.
I probably will. But I'm more interested in just getting maybe like one level higher so I can actually do what I want to do on the ice comfortably.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so it's funny that you brought this up. This is actually really kind of perfect of what I was hoping to talk to you all about is I'm creating a coaching philosophy program that is a little bit different than your traditional pipeline of skating. And hopefully, by talking about it, it might help you
Yeah.
access some of the things that you're thinking about. So, if you think about skating in a three-dimensional model way, so let's say like three axes, X, Y, and Z, and the X-axis is like your traditional skating learning pipeline. So you do crossovers, then you do axle, then you do triple axle, and blah blah blah. There's two other axes that I teach that are separate from those skills that you're learning. So the y-axis is something that is attributed to a physical awareness. So are you able to activate your core, or are you able to help yourself prevent injuries so that you're able to do this for a longer period of time? And do you have that coordination required to do these skills? That's going to then help you later in life. And then the z-axis would be the mental awareness. And so this is things like you were talking about, like your relationship to failure or plateau, or how do you feel about artistry and music, and all of these things that because you are skating, you are having access to questions that make you learn about either yourself or the world.
Mm,
And acknowledging all three of those things, I think, is hugely beneficial in keeping skaters like yourself, who are, you might feel a little plateaued because you're stuck on that x-axis. And
yeah,
if that's the only axis that you're tuned into and aware of, then you're gonna miss all of the y-axis
yeah,
improvement on your physical health and awareness of your body and breath. And then also I mean, you're talking to me about like high level concepts in artistry, like metaphors and things like that I'm sure we all learned about in language arts class, but attributing this to movement or dance is a whole other thing that a lot of people can't do. And so, yeah, I think using skating as a tool to acknowledge all three of those axes instead of just the x-axis is a really cool way to track your progress or plateau. Like if you really feel like on all three, you're like, I am plateauing, then I would say maybe there's something, else going on.
yeah,
Um, but talking to your coach about like all of these things, and that's why I'm such a I love suggesting journaling, because it's you write down the skill
yeah,
that you're learning, and then also a physical skill that you're learning based on that skill. So, for example, crossovers give me access to twisting my core and lifting over my feet. And what a great tool to use as either you're aging, or you are, picking up a kid and they're like running past you really quickly. So you can start to see how like skating then kind of branch out and teach you more than just the skills,
yeah,
because that's another one of my soapboxes. And I know I'm talking a lot, but I really feel as though skating limits itself in the way that we evaluate success, because the result is so highly prioritized.
Mhm.
So things like Olympics, for example, which is the big one, um, you're very far along on that x-axis.
Mhm.
Very far along. You can do the quads. But sometimes people finish at the Olympics, or I guess on the screen it's over here. People at the Olympics and they don't realize how much of their y-axis they don't have an awareness of. They don't have a core awareness. They're not able to have a routine that prevents injury long term. And they sometimes fall into depression. I know a lot of post-Olympic
Oh
athletes
yeah,
who have that like post-Olympics blues, you call it,
Mhm.
but like let's call it what it is. It's depression and
Mhm.
anxiety because now you're like, who am I?
yeah.
So
It's really funny.
that's all to say, I think there might be opportunities for you to connect to skating in a different way.
I would love to explore that. I mean, everything you're saying is totally fascinating, and it really is resonating with me. I'm very interested in learning more about how I can do that. I think
Mhm.
that I am stuck on the X axis.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and honestly, maybe a little preview of things to come. It's sort of like you were talking about like your business being your baby. This is like sort of like my baby. And so to hear that it resonates with you is so it makes me feel great.
Oh my gosh, totally does.
And
Yeah,
because it and no matter I went to nationals and did one international and it resonates with me too. And I've spoken, like my friends are Olympians and they're like, "Oh yeah, like I had depression." And so I'm like, "Okay, this something is wrong here." Like it's all of us, not just, um not just the people who are feeling like they're lagging behind or, things like that.
yeah.
Also, I think speaking to that burnout, I think even if you didn't go to the Olympics, a lot of skaters quit in high school because they experienced that burnout and then they go, who am I? And you
Hmm.
have that like self identity crisis because you were always known as the skater, but then you're burnt out. And that's what happened to me when I came back to skating. I had taken two breaks, a 5 year break, and then came back and got my gold test after college. And then I took a 10-year break to raise kids and came back, but I've connected to skating and more of that. um I don't know which axis that would be, the maybe the new way of sort of like refining my rediscovering skating and a love for it in a new way where the
Hmm.
pressure is off. It is my therapy, it's that mental health, it's all of that. I feel like a better person every time I get off the ice than when I stepped on the ice. My worries, I can leave them rinkside. Um,
Hmm.
so I think that having been like a tapped out competitive skater and then coming back much later in life, it's like I don't feel the pressure to compete because I lived that life.
Hmm.
And now I just want to express my art
Hmm.
and have people hopefully resonate and connect to it and enjoy watching. But it's not because I need to prove anything competitively. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so
A very
it's
healthy way of going about it. I think that I
Mhm.
love that you do. You sometimes you'll just take like a even sometimes it's like 15 minutes, right, or just a small amount of time. And you'll do that either before or during a break or something like that, just to kind
Yeah.
of like de-stress. And I think that that's really healthy. And you are doing that for so many people, or so many people are inspired by you. And that's what I hope. That's what I wanted for this podcast. Really, is I wanted to just kind of educate adult skaters and give them a space to like talk about these kinds of things and
Hmm.
to just you know network and I think that it's for me I don't really like exercise. This is the only exercise that I truly love. I love it, and it's such a great exercise, right? It really engages
Yeah.
the whole body. It's wonderful. And so many people when I ask, no, I could never do that. I'll break my leg. If, not at this age. There's
Yeah.
no way. That's sort of the mentality that most adults have. They think that this can't do it. And I kind of want to, you know, dispel that myth if I can.
Yeah, it is 100% within I have a student who is 76. I work with her sometimes. I mean she wears a helmet, but
Yeah,
and that's kind of what I mean when no longer is the goal like passing all of our tests.
yeah,
Now our goal is 1 foot glides, but not so that she can do it in a competition and prove she's a good skater. It's more so. balance and control and coordination. And that just is such a great tool for elongating one's life and one's quality of life as you age as well. And so, for people, particularly people who are older, there is an inherent risk to it. I don't want to glaze over that fact.
Yeah.
However, there is a risk in all physical movement as well. So I think there's a little bit of um, yeah, and if you were only focusing on the result of the performance, then skaters like her might stop.